Today, we are learning about having a servant attitude. That truly, it's not about me. Turn to your neighbor and say, it's not about me. Write that in the chat. It's not about me. We are in a moment right now as a church body. We are in a moment right now where we've decided to give everything to God. Unwavering commitment to his kingdom. And as all parts, diverse and different in purpose, we've all made that decision in some degree to give him what we have. To walk this out together. Say together. Write that, together. The question that we're wrestling with today, how do we work together? How do we relate to one another? How do we serve each other as we serve God? What attitude do we need to have when answering the call of God to make disciples and to be a disciple? If you have your Bibles today, turn with me to the book of Philippians 2, 1-9. Apostle Paul is writing to the church. This is what it says. Therefore, if you have any encouragement from being united with Christ, if any comfort from his love, if any common sharing in the Spirit, if any tenderness and compassion, then make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love, being one in spirit and of one mind. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves. Not looking to your own interest, but each of you to the interest of the others. In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as who? As Christ Jesus, who being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. And being found in appearance as man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. Therefore, God exalted him to the highest place and gave him the name that is above every name. God bless his word, and thank God for Jesus. Apostle Paul encourages the church, he says this, to be in unity. He says in verse 2, be like-minded. Have the same love. Be in one spirit and of one mind. In other words, be together, work together, love together, serve together. You see, we all have different callings. We're all different. We all have different purposes. But we have one mind, one love, the same passion and focus, and we're perfect unity. What does this mean? It means that every part, you and me, every part must choose to connect ourselves. That every part connects to the whole, which is the body of Christ. That we align our heart, we align our mind, we align our focus. So that all of us are walking in perfect unity. We're going to talk about unity in the body. Because friends, commitment without connection just simply isn't enough. We could be here saying, I give everything to God. I want to do good things for God. I want to serve him. I say yes. The next step for each of us is choose to connect. Connect to the body. And as each part connects, as each part takes the same mind, God's mind, as each part takes the same heart, God's heart, as each part connects with the same focus, God's focus, there's unity. We need to connect. Who here is a sports fan? Any here sports fans? Sports fans? Wow, no sports fans, man. I'm a big sports fan, right? I follow Toronto Raptors, so let's go. Basketball season's coming up. To illustrate this, in many cases, there are teams with athletes. And athletes, they commit to the teams, but some of them commit, but they're not united in spirit, not united in purpose. They decide not to connect to the team. And coaches would say this to them. They would say, man, they're not bought in. They're on the roster, but they don't follow the coach. They don't listen to the coach. They don't follow the team playbook. They don't care about the needs of the other players. They're not aligned in their focus, aligned in their heart, aligned in their spirit. And the commentators would say this all the time. They'd say this, because these teams would rarely win the championship. They'd win sometimes, but they'd rarely win the championship. And commentators would say this all the time. If only they would work together. If only they would just figure out that they need to be united. If only they just would work together, figure out their roles, and buy in. In the same way, we could be saying yes to God, but we don't have the connection. When we are part of the body, we need to choose to willingly connect ourselves to have the same heart, same mind, same focus. We need to buy in. And the reality is, if you're carrying your own focus, you're carrying your own heart, you're carrying your own mind, when you come to serve the work of the church, there's always going to be division. Because we're called to have one focus, one mind, one heart. And there's going to be this struggle in serving God because there's just simply no alignment. There's no connection. Tell your neighbor, choose to connect. Write that, choose to connect. A unity is achieved through connecting in two ways. The first is we need to be connected to Christ. That's the first thing. Our heart should first and foremost say, it's not about me, it's about Christ. And when we connect to his body, we align ourselves to his heart, his mind, his passion, his focus. Our focus shouldn't be on, what do I want to do? What should I put my energy into? It should be, what does God want me to do? What should I set my gaze on? What should I focus my energy and attention on? Our thinking shouldn't be, what do I think? What's the smartest thing to do? But we need to be renewed in our mind and take the kingdom mindset to see the things the way God sees them, to have his wisdom, his direction, his speaking into our lives. And our love shouldn't be our love. That's conditional. Our love should be God's love. That's unconditional, never failing, perfect. All of us need to align to him. Although we're all different, we are all united through Christ. And I look around here today at all of you here. And so look to your left, look to your right. If you're online, just turn around and look around there. But I look around and I say, what is the common denominator between all of us here? I don't look like you. I don't think like you. I don't have the same passions as you. Maybe I don't even have the same humor as you, interest as you. But the thing that unites us is Christ. He's the one who unites us. And when all of us are connected to him, the differences don't matter. The differences don't matter because all of us have one heart, which is Christ, one mind, which is Christ, one focus, which is Christ. He unites us. We're called to be united. Ephesians 4:3-6 says this, make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. There's one body, one Spirit. Just as you were called to one hope when you were called. One Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is over all and through all and in all. We are united through Christ. When we ask ourselves these questions, how do I continue to serve? What's going to keep me loving? What's going to keep me going? What's going to keep me focused? When people offend me, what's going to make me push through that? When I get hurt and people hurt me in the church, what's going to keep me going? And my answer is simply Christ. Connect to Christ. Let him impart to you his mission. Let him impart to you his love, his thinking. Then you'll want to keep serving. You'll want to keep going. Then you will love people like Jesus loves people. Then you'll serve people like Jesus serves people. You see, when you're aligned, serving, it comes naturally. You see and feel things the way that God does. And if your brother or sister is in need, your heart breaks. if you see a need for someone, when you're connected to God, you feel and see things the way he does. In John 13, 34 to 35, it says this, "A new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another." Friends, the beauty about loving God, so beautiful. The beauty about loving God is that in loving him, he points us to one another. That's the beauty. The beauty about loving and serving God is that as I love him, he points me to love one another. Through connection with him, he connects us to one another. That's the second thing for unity. We need to be connected to each other. Unity in the body, that's what it means, that I'm connected to you and you are connected to me. We're in this together. And as parts of the body, we are one flesh. And we learned that in this series. And this verse that we talked about, 1 Corinthians 12, 26 to 27. Let's look at it again. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part is honored, every part rejoices with it. Now you are the body of Christ, and each one of you is a part of it. Romans 12, 5. So in Christ we, though many, form one body, and each member belongs to all others. We are all connected to each other. And we need to have that mindset that it's not about me. It's about each other. And when I serve Christ. And as you get strong, I get strong. And when you're weak, I'm weak. We're one body. We're one flesh. We have the same heavenly DNA, the same heavenly blood, the same God, the same. We're one family. So what does that mean? It means we need to build and nurture relationships with one another. We need to be united with one another. We need to deeply care for one another. To have genuine concern for each other's needs, to serve one another, to help each other run this race together. And in doing the work of God, in doing the work of ministry, if you miss caring for people, then you're missing what the work is really about. If you're serving and you miss loving and caring for people, then you're missing what the whole service is really about. We need to care about the details of each other's lives. We need to care. Why? Because God cares about the details of every person's life. He cares. He cares when you're struggling. He cares when you're in your room and you're struggling with your faith. He cares when you can't see when the next paycheck is going to come, or he sees when you're relationally struggling with your children and there's this conflict in your home. He sees it. He cares about it. His heart breaks with a deep love. He cares about the details. The details. He cares. And as a church, when we're connected to him, we're challenged to care in the same way. We need to care about each other. We need to love one another. Colossians 3, 12, 15. Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you has a grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord forgave you. And over all these virtues, put on love. Say, put on love. Write that, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body you are called to peace, and be thankful. Put on perfect love. For who? For each other. And there's some in this room today that you feel like you're going through life alone. There's some in this room who feel like it's just me out here, and everyone's against me and I'm struggling by myself. Nobody loves me. Nobody cares for me. I want to tell you that you're surrounded by a body and a family who loves you deeply, who cares for the details of your life because God loves you. He cares for you. He cares about the details. And you're surrounded by brothers and sisters in faith who love you and care about you. So don't listen to those things that say you're alone. You're not alone. We love you. Turn to your neighbor and say, I love you. Write that in the chat. I love you. Some of you are like, do I love you? I love you. You see, I may not know you. I may not know you. But I know I love you because God loves you. Friends, in order to be united, we need to desire to be connected to one another. Desire to serve one another. Say, it's not about me. Write that. It's not about me. And I want to talk about this. Who here is an introvert? Any introverts here? Introverts are like, can you ask the extroverts to raise their hands? Introverts versus extroverts. I should have asked the other question. Anyways, they say that introverts versus extroverts, against popular belief, it's not about, how social you are, but it's about where you get your energy from. So, self-diagnosis, I'm not a scientist, I'm a pastor, so don't take any of this to like the bank or whatever, but if the saying goes, if you feel recharged by people, being with people, you're an extrovert. If after you feel drained by people, and I'm saying drained, not annoyed by people, drained by people, then you're an introvert. And some of this may be a shock to a lot of you, but naturally I'm an introvert. I'm a very social introvert. But where I get my energy from, I really value my personal time. I need to have the time where I'm just alone and I need to recharge. And my wife, Rachel, she's an extrovert. She always wants to be doing something with people and going different places. And at the end of parties, we're so different. Rachel would be with people all day, and it's charging her up. So at the end of the day, she can just go to sleep. That's it. But me, when I'm with people all day, I go home, and what do? I sit there by myself, maybe just look on my phone or whatever it may be, and I recharge alone. I can't just go to sleep because I need to be alone. I need that charge. And I think I bring this up because, naturally at times in my nature, when I think about relationship with others, when I think about being with people all the time, it makes me nervous. It makes me, you think about, I got to be in a relationship with people. I got to care and love outside of myself. You think about all the energy. You think about all it takes, and you get a bit nervous. And, to love someone that's not in your family, to love someone who's not in your group of friends, and to love them like God, unconditionally, to give everything to them. It's hard. And I'm bringing this up because I feel like a lot of the people in the church, they don't want to serve because they know it deals with people. And they don't want to deal with people because people are messy, right? We're messy. I'm messy. Say that, I'm messy. We're messy. But it's in those moments when I face that feeling of, should I love? What should I do? Where I connect myself to Christ. I connect myself to Him and His heart. And I realign. And I realize that the heart that I am connected to, that the heart that God has is a heart for people. It's a heart for relationships. That God literally gave everything for relationship. That serving God without serving people, it doesn't exist. And God's not searching for possessions. He's not searching for wealth. He has everything. He's not searching for large gatherings and attendance, but He's longing for relationship. And I challenge myself to love people with God's heart. And that's the key. We need to desire to connect with one another. We need a desire to love one another, to be in relationship with one another. And when there's tension, connect to Christ. And he'll point you to connect with others. And what happens? There's unity in the body. And unity, it's difficult to achieve. Being connected to each other, serving one another, it's hard work. It's hard work. And Apostle Paul, he encourages the church with an attitude that we must have when serving. What our mind and our heart should be focused on to ensure that we do work together, that we are in unity, and we're focused. And we're going to go through that. What is a servant attitude? The first is this. Servant attitude is not selfish. Philippians 2:3-4 says this: do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. We need to know that being part of this body means that we are not selfish. A selfish person is someone who puts their interests above others. And it could also be defined as somebody who does stuff for hire, work for hire. In other words, they only do to get. And if they don't get, they don't do. And this is a person whose mindset is always focused on personal gain. They're the people who only help others, only help or serve the church if they get something out of it. Maybe it's recognition. Maybe it's a free lunch. Maybe it's a financial benefit. Maybe it's networking opportunities where they can meet other people. Or maybe it's training for their own growth or development. But there's always something that they're looking for in return. And they're people, in my experience, they're people that only build relationship with others who can benefit their family, who can benefit their career. Their relationships are more conditional. They'll only give time and effort to people who would give them benefits. And it's a selective connection. It's, I will help you if you help me. And with these people, there's no sacrifice. There's no cost. And the question that these people always ask is, what's in it for me? And when they get plugged into ministries, and when we talk about ministries, just plugged into doing the work of the church, doing things for God, you'll find that people with the selfish attitudes, they're hard to mobilize. You can't really get them to do much unless there's something attached to it. And they only show up to the big things. They don't show up to the little things because it's not worth my time. They don't show up to those things. And you'll find that it's hard for them to have relationship with others. It's hard for them. They have probably no friendships with other people. And along the way of serving, you'll find that they'll slowly just fizzle out and give up. Because they'll be faced with the reality that serving is not about them. It's not selfish. It's not about them. And this is what James 3:14-16 says, but if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast about or deny the truth. Such wisdom does not come down from heaven, but is earthly, unspiritual, demonic. For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder in every evil practice. You see, if we're all parts of the body who are just concerned about ourselves, concerned about building me up, concerned about just, I want to be strong, just me, there's going to be division in the body, and the body's going to suffer. And I find it interesting because the people, in my experience, the people who, have this selfish attitude, they don't want to serve, but they want everyone else to serve them. Friends, that's the most selfish mindset. That hey, ignore your needs because my needs are greater than your needs. My interests are more important. Hey, you need to serve me because what I'm going through is harder than what you're going through. I need it more. You need to serve me. I want to tell you, church, we all need it. We all need it. We're all going through something. No one here has no trials. Who here has had no trials this past year? No hardship. We all have it. And we don't choose to simply serve others because our life is perfect. We don't have any needs, so I will help you with your needs. That's not why we serve. We serve simply because of this. We have decided to look outside of our own interests and look to the interest of others and realize that there's others who need help. And if the person I love needs help, you better believe no matter what I'm going through, I will be there. That's what Philippians 2:4 says. Don't look at your own interest, but look to the interest of others. Yeah, I'm dealing with stuff. I'm dealing with marital stuff. I'm dealing with financial stuff. I'm dealing with different things at work. I'm dealing with family, all these different things. But I'm choosing to look outside of what I'm going through and look at what you're going through. To give up what's happening in my life. There's stuff happening. There's real stuff happening here. But I'm going to look out of myself to help you. Because I love you. And that doesn't change with what I'm going through. Friends, we need to be unselfish. The mission of the kingdom is that we don't serve selfishly, but it's a selfless mission. Because it's not about me, it's about Him. And if it's about Him, it's about each other. Our attitude should go from, what's in it for me, to, what can I do for others? If there's someone who has a need, fill it. If you see a ministry or something in the church that you see there's a need, don't, oh, they didn't do it right again. Fill it. If you can do it, if you have the ability, give without expecting anything in return. Be selfless, be generous. True generosity is always giving more. It's without looking at what we get. It's unconditional. It keeps on giving. Give unconditionally to the Lord. Deuteronomy 15:10. Give generously to them, and do so without a grudging heart. Then because of this, the Lord will bless you in all your work and in everything you put your hand to. Imagine a world. Imagine a family where everyone looked to the interests of others first. And loved with no strings attached. There would be no suffering. There would be no lack anywhere. Because as soon as my brother has a need, we all go fill it. As soon as I have a need, someone comes and fills it. It's a world that is united. Say, it's not about me. That's the first thing. Not selfish. The second thing is this. A serving attitude is not arrogant. Paul tells us that we should do nothing out of vain conceit. Philippians 2:3. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself. Vain conceit, it means this. It's a state of pride without any basis. It can be defined as like a cheap pride, an empty pride. And when he says do nothing out of pride, he says do nothing out of a pride that has no basis. And there are people, some people, not in this church, there are some people who are prideful with no basis. They just feel naturally that they are better than others. They believe that their life's the most important, that their value is greater than everyone else's value. Has anyone met an arrogant person? Anybody here? Like, yeah. I'm going to tell you, an arrogant person looks like this. They have trouble to submission. It's hard for them to submit to authority because if it's not their way, it's not the best way. And they're never wrong. They're hard to teach, hard to correct, and they're never the ones to be first to ask for forgiveness. Never the ones to release forgiveness first. And the hard reality is that arrogant people also hurt others. They discriminate against others. And when it comes to serving the church and doing his work, some jobs or tasks in the ministry just not worth their time. And some people aren't worth their time. If you have a job, I want you to stack the chairs. That person's not stacking the chair. I want you to clean the kitchen. We did a big thing. Can you clean the kitchen? I don't know. And if they do it, what happens? There's complaining and grumbling because this job is not worth their time. There's some people who are not worth their time as well. They have this judgmental attitude. There's all these conditions for friendship. You have to look like this, be like this, talk like this, have this amount of income. There's all these different things to qualify to be friends. There's no compassion, no empathy, no seeing it from the other person's perspective. And they believe truly that certain people aren't worth their time and energy. That's it. They believe that. And it's sad because not only are arrogant people selective in what jobs they do, selective in relationships, but the reality is that they crush the spirit of others. People around them start to feel lesser. If you've been around an arrogant person, you just start to feel lesser. You don't know why. It's because if we're all the same to God, equal in value, if we're all the same to God, equal in value, the only way to go up is to push someone down. That's the only way, when we're all equal in value. Friends, God calls us not to be an arrogant person. He calls us to value others above ourselves, not to be proud, but be humble. Romans 12:3, for by the grace given to me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment. In accordance with faith, God has distributed to each of you. The reality is no one can boast before the Lord. And in the sight of God, we're all equal in value. And I want to take this moment right here because if you're like me, you're saying, oh, I'm not an arrogant person. This doesn't apply to me. This doesn't apply to me. I'm not an arrogant person. But I want to say, church, that we all struggle with this to some degree. Because naturally we place value on what the society tells us. Position, title, ranking. We all have these values by you're a manager, you're this, you're this. Society tells us to value people in ranking. And arrogance comes in when we feel that because of these titles, because of these ranks, because of the things that I have done, my experience in life, that we are more valuable than others. And what happens is it causes us to be selective in relationship and service. And what happens? We don't serve everyone the same. And it's sad because in the church, some of us are still selective with our service. We're still selective with our love and relationship. Some of us still don't want to talk to the unbeliever. Some of us still don't want to befriend or serve someone who doesn't fit the Christian mold, who doesn't look or speak the Christianese language. Some of us still struggle to serve and love people who don't speak the same language as us, eat the same food as us. Some of us are still selective in our service and our love. In our actions, when we do this, it tells those who are not selected for a relationship that they are simply not valuable. And what happens? These people don't come back to church. When in reality, God loves them. God values them. That He would give everything for them. Everything. If only we grasp that. That we're all equal in value to God. That we would go out of our way to love and serve everyone. If only we'd look at our own relationship and say, wow, God has pursued me like this. He's met my need like this. And look to our brother and sister and say, the same pursuit that He had over me, He's pursuing them. The same passion He has for me and the way He showed up for me, that He's doing that for the unbeliever. He's doing that for someone who doesn't look like me, someone who doesn't speak like me, that He loves them the same. as me. He treats them the same as me. Because there's no titles with God. There's no CEOs. There's no managers, or there's none of that. We're all servants of God. There's nothing that separates us. In comparison to him, we're nothing. We're all equally dependent. All of us need saving. He treats and loves all of us the same. We're the same in value to God. And the challenge is that we would treat and love everyone the same. And there would be no one in this church who felt like they didn't belong. There would be no one in this church who felt like they were undervalued, because we would simply see them the way God does. Friends, it's moments that happen in every one of us. If we're honest, it happens in me. And when I want to be selective with my service, when I'm like, I don't know if I want to talk to this person or whatever, I connect myself to God. And I remember that compared to him, that I am nothing. I don't have title, I don't have anything, I'm just me. And that who am I to assign value on what God has marked as worthy of his love and worthy of his life? Who am I to be selective of who I give God's love to? Love all, serve all. We are all equally valuable to God. And friends, there's a call to be humble. And humble, it means being in the low places, having that mentality that I'm not up here, but I'm down here. And in his word, he not only challenges us to look at others equally, but he says, value them more than you value yourself. And what happens is when we value them more than we value ourselves, we serve them in a greater way. And here again, any sports fans, I already asked this question, there's not a lot of you. But in any team, there's always an MVP. Do you guys know what MVP stands for? Most Valuable Player. And there's always that person who carries the team, has franchise player, they're MVPs because the team can't exist without them. They need to be there. And if you're the MVP, what are you asking? You're saying, you need to serve me. I need to be healthy. I need to be strong. I need to be at my best. So the team needs to serve me so that I can be at my best, and together we can win. What happens is when we change our mindset, we're talking about more valuable. When we change our mindset from I'm the most valuable to hey, I'm not the MVP. He's the MVP, she's the MVP. All of a sudden, our mentality changes and we say, what do you need? You're the most important. Whatever your needs are, I'll fill it. If you need rest, if you need anything, if you have something in your life, because you're the most important to what we're doing here, because we can't do what we're doing without you, I need to serve you in a greater way. And that's what God calls us to do. He calls us to value others more than we value ourselves. To meet the needs of others more than we meet the needs of ourselves. It takes humility. And even though we may be stronger, even though we may be smarter, even though we may be wiser in experience, we need to still treat others as more valuable. Say, it's not about me. Turn to your neighbor, it's not about me. And I want to encourage you today, some of you today, humility will never leave you in last place. It will never leave you in last place. 1 Peter 5:5-6. In the same way, you who are younger, submit yourself to your elders. All of you, clothe yourself with humility toward one another, because God opposes the proud, but shows favor to the humble. Humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time. He's going to lift you up. In our relationship with others, don't be arrogant. Say to your neighbor, it's not about me. Type in the chat, it's not about me. And finally, most importantly, A servant attitude is modeled after Jesus. I think it's so fitting that we not only end this sermon, but we end this series looking at Jesus. How do we know that serving the body is truly what God wants? How do we know that serving one another is truly important? Because God demonstrates it. God does it. He not only says it, but he does it. Let Christ be our standard of service, our model, our example. Let our service not measure up to what we think is right, but what God has demonstrated in his own life. Philippians 2, 5-9, this was our key passage. In your relationship with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus, who being the very nature God, did not consider equality with God an advantage, something to be used for his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. And being found in appearance as man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. Therefore, God exalted him to the highest place and gave him the name that is above every other name. You see, when we start falling in a different mindset, when we start to be selfish or we start to think arrogantly, when we start to feel entitled, look to Jesus. And remember what he has demonstrated. He became nothing. Nothing. He who is God, equal to God, became nothing. Became like you and me. Took on the fleshly concerns, the problems in life, the emotions, all the things. He took it on himself, serving you and me to the point of death. It cost him everything. Not arrogant in his position and title, but valuing us more than himself. Not coming to earth to be served, rightfully as so. God should come to be served. Not coming to earth to be served, but to serve. The ultimate servant. And we get stuck in our pride, stuck in these titles, stuck in positions, stuck in selfish. Look to Jesus, who became nothing. And he gave everything. How beautiful. Jesus, who is God, the God that we serve is the ultimate servant. How beautiful is that? That the God that we serve is the ultimate servant. He serves. John 13 is a famous story of Jesus washing the feet of his disciples. And he starts washing Peter's feet, and Peter says, "What are you doing? Why are you washing my feet? You shouldn't be washing my feet." And Jesus says, "Unless I wash your feet, you have no part of me." And he explains what he's doing. John 13, 12-17. When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to this place. "Do you understand what I've done for you?" he asked them. "You call me teacher and Lord, and rightfully so, for this is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I've set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Very truly I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them." He was saying, you call me teacher, you call me Lord, and rightfully I am that to you. I do have that position, I do have that title, but I've given it up to serve you, because no servant is greater than his master. And he says, serve like this, wash the feet of others, get to the low places, do the jobs that nobody wants to do, get to the low moments to meet the needs of others. Love and give excellently. Friends, if Jesus, God, he can get to the low moments, he can get to the low places, if the God we serve can do that, then we need to do it as well. He's the only one who has the right to say, "Serve me." He's the only one who has the title and the ranking and the right to say that, but yet he chooses to serve. Mark 10:45, for even the Son of Man, did not come to be served, but to serve, to give his life as a ransom for many. Let's have the attitude of Christ and be humble, valuing others more than ourselves. Let God be the one to lift you up. Like we talked about last week, giving it all is always rewarded. Philippians 2:9. Therefore God exalted Jesus to the highest place, gave him the name that is above every name. Say, it's not about me. As we close today and we close this series, my prayer is that we would be united. We'd be connected to Christ and truly care, and to serve and love one another, just like Christ calls us to do. But it takes a change in attitude. It takes a heart and mind that says it's not about me, it's about Him and each other. It's how we do this together. It's how we stay together, how we work together in perfect unity. And as we go off and serve practically in our different ministries and do all these things and serve the church, let's have the right attitude. If you're in a moment where you feel there's division in your service, you feel there's a bit of tension, it's not aligning, look to yourselves first. Ask yourself, do I have the servant attitude? Am I being selfish? Am I being arrogant? Am I looking to, what would Jesus do in this situation? Am I connected to Him? Friends, we all need to play our part in being united.